Hey everybody, welcome back to Matt Kiteboarding. I'm Tucker, and today I'm going to talk with you about the brand new 2024 Duotone Slick. Now, the Slick has been out for a while now. It's a favorite for our customers every year. It's one of my favorite wings every year. It's always a wing that you can go to and know, this thing is going to just work in a huge range of conditions, a huge range of riding styles. And one thing the Slick is known for is speed, but also for just smoothness and ease of use. This is a wing that you can grab as a first-time rider and be really happy and learn and progress on. It's also a wing that pros can ride and do ride and appreciate as well. So really, the Slick knows no bounds. It is a wing that is just fun and playful and fun to ride with a big range and just makes winging easy, I would say. So what's changed for 2024? Let's take a look at it, go over some of the things. Honestly, not that much has changed for 2024, but what matters is really the experience on the water, and there's nothing too much that I can point to specifically here on the video, but what I can tell you is that riding this wing, it is a level up from what the Slick has ever been. It is getting better every year, and really this wing is something that I look forward to grabbing for the rest of the year and really enjoying. So stick with me here. I'll walk you through some of this stuff. It should be pretty simple and also rehash some of the things about the Slick if you aren't familiar with it from previous years. So if you know all this stuff, bear with me. Maybe skip towards the end of the video and we'll get more to the changes and what's new about the Slick for 2024. But first we're going to walk through just what makes the Slick a Slick and what's it all about. All right, so let's do it. So we're going to start at the front here. We have the surf handle here, right on the leading edge, has a nice neoprene patch underneath. For 2024, this is actually stiffened up quite a bit. In the past, it had been maybe just a little bit flimsy. So this just gives you a bit more control. You can see I'm really putting quite a bit into it. It's really not even flexing hardly. This is much stiffer than years past. One thing I do like about the Duotone surf handle is it is very sleek and slim, easy to hang on to with one, two, whole hand, whatever you want to do. But it's not a huge honking handle. It's just close to the wing, direct, very easy to hang on to, even with thick gloves on like we have here this time of the year in Michigan. Going into the leash, you'll notice there is a leash on this one, but it's not included with the wing. I actually had a PPC leash with me, so I just threw that on. It works great. So you're not paying extra for a leash that you don't need or for a style of leash that maybe you don't like. So be aware of that when you're buying this wing. You do need to add a leash if you don't already have one you want to use. Getting into the inflation system here, we have another thing that you don't have included with the wing, and that's the pump adapter. So Duotone uses what's called an airport valve, they call it, right here. And it almost looks like a hose end. It's a bayonet fitting, but it's not a hose end fitting. You actually need the specific Duotone pump hose fitting. So if you don't already own one of those or own a Duotone pump, you'll want to buy the hose fitting so that you can pump up your wing. You'll see it is a one pump system here. We have the strut connection with a lockout here so you can isolate the bladders. We have a dump valve, 9mm dump valve here on the side of the strut, as well as out here on the wingtip. So if you're pumping up your wing and it's not going anywhere, chances are you forgot one of those two dump valves. We've all done it. There's no shame, but especially being out here on the wingtip, it's easy to forget. So remember to plug that up before you go and ride. Getting down into something a bit more special here for the Slick specifically, we have the Duotone Mini Boom. So that is our boom here. This is the Platinum SLS version. It's carbon fiber. It's a narrower diameter. So this one tends to be kind of the go-to if you have the budget for it. If you don't have the budget for it, the aluminum silver edition is great as well, but this one is kind of the creme de la creme and tends to be the go-to if you can do that. The mini boom is special because number one, it's a boom, it's not handles, it's one solid piece. So you can grab it anywhere along here without having to take your hand off the grip. Or, if you want to hold it one-handed in the middle, that's all possible. And then as you can tell, I was using a harness line here. This is not included with the purchase, but you can buy it separately on the boom. And you can put that harness line anywhere you want. Some people like to put it a little closer to the front so that it's all controlled with the backhand, and if you let go of your backhand, it kind of automatically depowers. Myself, I like to kind of balance it where I like to ride, which is somewhere in here right now. And being a little further apart, it allows me a little bit of adjustment of power in that with my harness hook. You can also actively change it the way I have this one set up on the water. If you find the wind is changing or you want to balance that harness line differently. So the boom allows you kind of endless possibilities with regard to all of that. The only downside is you do have to travel with, a 4-foot piece of carbon fiber or aluminum. It does not break down into 2 pieces. They don't have a travel version or anything yet. But what most people that ride the Slick will tell you, if you're traveling, you're probably bringing a board anyway. Throw that sucker in the board bag, and now you can pack this wing down tiny. If you don't have permanent hard handles on there, or handles getting in the way of you folding it tightly and really packing it down, you can really pack these down quite small. So I'd say it's actually, viewed as a benefit by a lot of people that are familiar with traveling with the Slick. All right, so that's the boom. The strut itself is also pretty unique for the Slick. You've got a cutaway here underneath the boom because the boom is in line with the strut. Being in line with the boom here, it just gives you a really intuitive feel to know where the wing is, to know where the boom is. It's not, protruding out way away from the wing. And it does, I think, add another layer of just ease of use and intuition in this wing that other boom wings don't have that I've ridden. Just something special about it being kind of built into the strut like that. And because of that, you have this sort of unique shaped strut with this fat part up here where it's connecting to the wing. So there's lots of contact, lots of control over that torque. And then it bends away. And then again, it gets fat back here so that you have something that's going to float you when you're leaning on it, when you're, maybe sinker starting, or sometimes, even doing like a stink bug start or something, you'll kind of lean on the back of the wing. Just gives you a little bit more something to push off of back here. And really works out nice and well. Behind this, you can't see it too well here, but let me turn it and see if I can get a better view for you. We've got a baffle here, and it's a vented baffle. So this is controlling the foil shape, and this is allowing a free flow of air across the canopy to equalize that pressure. And that really just makes the canopy super smooth and crisp. And that foil section on this wing is just so efficient, so speedy. Ken and the team really have done a fantastic job in years past and really taken it to the next level for 2024 with how this wing flies and how smooth and quick it is. So that's some of the basic stuff. We've got windows here. These are a durable window, but they are pretty robust as compared to some of the other ones I've seen out there. So this is a window that's going to last a little bit longer, but it's also a window that's going to hold up in cold temperatures, which is important for us here sometimes when we're out riding in the snow or whatever. It's got a nice field of view, whether you're putting it directly in front of you or whether you got the wing a little higher. You can still see out that, and you even have kind of a rear-facing window here, which has some good vision without, plastering the whole wing with a big, heavy window. Kind of segmenting it up like that really allows you to fold it and roll it nicely, get some good lightweight canopy action there, but still have a good field of view. So they did a really nice job figuring out those windows and keeping them sleek but useful. So good job to the Duotone team. I'll also comment on our canopy since we're talking about canopy stuff right now. This is the Mod 3 canopy from Duotone. It is a wing-specific canopy material that they've developed, and it is a phenomenal canopy for wings. It's just really stiff, really durable. So it's a canopy that's going to give you a lot of performance for a long time. It's a canopy that is going to be more resistant to cuts and tears. And when they do happen, they're not going to fully explode on you and rip the wing in half. So I'm a big fan of this canopy. I'm really glad they kept it around for another year rather than just slinging the mud at the wall and trying something different. It works. It's fantastic. So stick with it. And obviously the colors look amazing on these wings as well. Talking about colors, I should also mention they do have a new colorway, but they actually call it a separate kind of model almost. It's a special model, the Concept Blue. So the idea with Concept Blue, and you'll see this in their kite line as well, all the materials are the same, but they're removing the dyes from the materials. And that does wonders for kind of the footprint of the materials being used. Just a lot better for the environment, a lot less impact. You know, using different dyes and things can be kind of nasty for the environment. So they're removing all of that. You get this really cool kind of white and off-white colorway with the blue accents there. So personally, that's the one I'm going to open up. I love the colorway. I'm not sure how much, you know, impact the dyes and stuff have, but I just love the colorway. I think it's something special, something unique. But also I'm flying this salmon and electric blue colored one here too, which I've kind of grown to love. It's something different, and as always from Duotone, they always do an awesome job with the colors and graphics. So pretty stoked on that. Going into the leading edge here, which is the primary change for this year, it's got a more rounded, more refined shape, so it's less angular. They've also put a little bit more curvature into the wingtip. And what that does for you is it just gives you a smoother flying wing that's more efficient, it's better upwind, and when you tip strike, it's going to release a lot easier when you can just rotate out of it rather than having a big sticky angular kind of draggy spot that can, you know, catch and throw you over the handlebars. It really just pops off the water really nicely. So when those inevitable tip strikes do happen, they're not going to cause any kind of a crash or a failure. You can just whip it off the water and keep riding. And I would say, you know, the change in that leading edge shape really has made a really big difference in the way this wing flies. So getting into my review of it, especially as compared to previous year's model, I would say, you know, the big takeaways from this is it's faster, smoother, but you might want to size up slightly. And that's for a couple of reasons. Number one, I do feel like the Slick this year is more forward pulling. So it's going to create more apparent wind, more board speed, and amplify your speed better. It's also going to handle being overpowered more easily and get upwind even better than in years past. One thing that you lose when you gain that forward traction generally is the low end lift or gruntiness of the wing, sometimes we call it. So that stump pulling, rip you straight onto foil, kind of pull in and go feel. The Slick still has enough of that to make it a very easy to use wing. Definitely a wing I would immediately put in the hands of a first time rider or somebody that wanted to progress and have something that's easy to progress on. But the takeaway is you want to ride it properly powered. You know, you don't want to grab a 5-meter Slick like I've been testing here, you know, when maybe you should have been on a 6. You want a 6 when you should be riding a 6 or maybe even a 6.5 because it's got so much high end range. It can handle being overpowered. It can handle those high gusts. You know, if the wind comes up, it can handle that. It's got a ton of top end range. Shoot for the moon. So, you know, my recommendation to most riders, especially if they're not riding, you know, like a longer, narrower kind of efficient board, is size up maybe a 0.5 meter as compared to previous year's Slicks. And I think you're going to be really, really happy with your low end range. And then your high end range is still going to remain nice and good. If you're coming from something really grunty like a Slick, or sorry, like a unit, their other wing in the Duotone lineup, it's got a lot of lift, a lot of grunt. you're probably going to want to size up a full meter on the Slick as compared to that to have the same low end range. If you're just looking to gain high end range and you can lose a couple of knots on the low end, no worries. You can go with the same size, no problem. You're going to gain a ton of top end range as compared to the unit. But the big thing is, yeah, if you're looking to replace a previous year Slick, go up a half meter, I think is a good advice. If you're looking to jump from a gruntier wing, sizing up a full meter is a good thing to do. And you're going to gain so much range. I mean, those grunty wings have a wind range like this, and the Slick has a range like this. So it's something you won't regret. In fact, you can probably buy fewer Slicks for the same wind range. If you're riding, 3 units, you can probably cover the same range with 2 Slicks. So that's really cool and good to know when you're out buying a quiver. Don't be afraid of a condensed quiver with the Slick. And of course, you can try them out and run from there. But it is a wing with a lot of range, so I'm stoked on that. Surfability on this wing, I would say, is a huge improvement over years past. In the past, the Slick has been a decent surf wing. It had always been maybe just a little bit unstable, and sometimes that was the shape, sometimes that was the surf handle. But now that they've refined it, it flies so smooth, it's so stable, and the surf handle's so stiff. This is a wing I could grab any day in the surf, be totally happy, especially on a smaller day where you might want to one-hand the wing for a little extra pop or leverage, or if you're throwing an air kind of in the middle of things. Having the boom is really handy, and obviously just moving your hands in and out of waves, doing different things, especially if you're using the wing actively while wave riding, the boom can't be underestimated. It's just so intuitive, so easy. It's always there. It's right where it is. And, that way you're not thinking about the wing when you're out there shredding, having lots of fun. Well, the big question, I think, is for more experienced riders, freestyle riders, do you want a Slick or do you want a unit? And I say that's probably going to depend on your conditions and things you want to do. I'm also no pro level freestyler, so maybe we could get that answer from one of the Duotone pros and why they make their decision. But I think you're going to see a lot of freestyle riders gravitating towards the Slick. While the unit does have that easy jump ability and loft, that pop, the Slick is just so much faster, cleaner into the wind, especially for those upwind kind of tricks and spins. And the Duotone boom here just makes the handling so good and opens up the possibility for some of those one-handed tricks and handle pass kind of things that are starting to emerge now. So we'll see. But I'm thinking you're going to see a lot more riders gravitating towards the Slick, and you might see that the board or foil choices maybe are changing because they can go a little faster. They want a little bit more pop coming up after a jump to either get back on foil or to pop into another jump. So a little bigger foil is usually the go-to plan for that kind of a thing. But I digress. These are choices made by the elite. We'll let them make those choices, I suppose. And the rest of us peasants can just have fun on our wings and do what feels right for us. So that is some of the changes to the wing. My review, I think it's all positive stuff. I've been a lover of the Slick for a long time. I think for me, the Slick this year has really emerged as a real contender for my personal quiver. You can do anything with it. You can race, you can ride wave ride, you can ride light winds. For sure, if you have the right size wing and an efficient board, you can go do whatever you want on it, really. So it's definitely a nice one to have in the car for whatever the day presents you and how you want to ride, and get out there and have a lot of fun. Now, we always like to pick on our brands here during every video, so we'll pick out something we don't like about almost every product we review. That's really hard to do with the Slick because it is such a legacy product. It's so refined over the years. They've really worked out a lot of those kinks. And I would say, for me, it's the classic Duotone nitpick. And that would be the valve situation. So I love the airport valve. It works great. It's durable. It's easy to use if you're not cranking on it. You know, if you do crank on it, it is an easy to kind of mess up valve. But if you're using it as it's intended, it's proven itself over the years. But I would say having to have a specific fitment of their adapter for their wings only is a little annoying, especially when the adapter doesn't come included. I get they don't want to give you something you don't need and make more plastic parts, but the reality is, I don't know if they're saving anybody any carbon footprint, because when you forget it, then you got to order it and then ship it in another shipment anyway. So that's my little nitpick on the valve. And then lastly, as somebody that rides in cold temperatures a lot of the year, half of the year, you know, we're dealing with real cold temperatures here, the 9mm deflate valves can be a little troublesome in those situations because they get stiff. They get really hard. Getting them pushed in or pulled out when your wing's been sitting in your car, cold temperatures, or, you know, maybe you pull it out of the car and, you know, you're getting your stuff set up and it gets really cold. It can be really hard to get these in. It can also be really hard to get them out after a session. And I've ripped off more than a couple of these little tabs dealing with that. Thankfully, the inflate valve, you can just leave these plugged up. You can deflate and inflate from the default or from the inflate valve only if you want to. It takes a little longer, especially evacuating the air out of the strut, through the tube, into the leading edge, and then out there, which doesn't, you know, deflate that fast. So usually what I'll do in the winter is make sure that I plug these up when the wing is warm. I leave them plugged up. A lot of times I'll leave my strut inflated, pinch this off, roll it up as one long tube, because a lot of times I'm leaving my boom on anyway. So having the boom with the strut attached, packing it away that way is kind of an easy way to do that if you have enough storage space, you know, to store a tube like that in your home or your rig to do that. So yeah, that's the Duotone Slick for 2024. They also have a D-Lab version of this wing with the Alula frame, so leading edge and strut in Alula. So that one is next level in terms of lightness, stiffness, speed. I would say for your average rider, your run-of-the-mill intermediate, the normal Slick is a great choice. It's still very light. It's still very stiff. They figured this thing out. Even for me at 200 pounds, riding really powered up, this thing is happy. Driving forward, it's not flexing and tacoing. So, you know, I'm really happy with the standard construction. But if you're looking for something even a little lighter, a little stiffer, a little faster, you know, maybe you're a racer, then the D-Lab treatment is for you. Or maybe you just want to be the cool guy at the beach with the shiny gold frame on your wing, then it's for you too. If you got the money for it, go for it. It's a sick wing. Really no drawbacks on the D-Lab versus the Slick, other than just the additional price on that. So let us know if y'all have any questions. Put them in the comments section below. Of course, you can always reach out to the shop on the phone, on our website, live chat, email, whatever have, and we'll be happy to help you out with any of that and get back to you. If you've been lucky enough to ride one of these wings already, like I have been, give us your thoughts. We'd love to hear what you think about this wing, and maybe some happy stories about the Slicks you've had in the past, or maybe bad stories. I don't know. Let's hear them all. Put them in the comments section below, and get chatting about the Duotone Slick.